I really want to introduce my very good friend, Biddle. He came all the way to see you. So, welcome to
All right, that was no pressure whatsoever. Everybody's doing good. Everybody, you got drinks, beer, so keep drinking because that makes me funnier. And I really like to be funny when I do this stuff. You're welcome. All right, so I am the chief investigator for the Committee for Skeptical Inquirer. That is my job. My full-time job is investigating mysteries, ghosts, and monsters, and UFOs, and weird stuff, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And so if we're going to be talking about strategies for solving mysteries, the first thing I want to get clear is what is a mystery? This is an unsolved question that's often followed by an attempt to answer it. When we attempt to answer such things, sometimes we have data, we have evidence to back it up, and we have a really good conclusion based on that data and evidence. Sometimes we speculate on what we know or we have gathered already. And speculation is good as long as you say, hey, I'm speculating, I'm not sure, I don't really know. Other times, you have people that simply make shit up. I mean, they do. They just make it up and they're like, hey, believe me, because, you know, especially in the community that I get into with ghost hunters, I mean, they show up everywhere in matching bowling shirts and they have pelican cases and they look like they're an authority figure. So people take them at their word, which I don't. But I love a good mystery. I really love it. I made it my career. And so over the years, I've developed strategies, several strategies. And feel free to take a picture of this if you want to. This is a graphic I put together. I have a poster of this hanging in my office. It's over my desk. So when I'm investigating a mystery and I kind of get stuck, I'm not sure where to go, I look up, literally look up, and that's there. And I go through the strategies and say, oh, you know, what haven't I tried yet? Let me look at them. There's 24 up here. This is not all of them because I keep updating it.
Is your microphone on? That one?
This one? Yes. So I keep updating it. There is 24 strategies. I'm not going to go through all of them today because that would take way too long. You guys would be, well, pretty much drunk by the time I was done because it takes so long. So I like you. So the first thing, if we're investigating mysteries, the first thing that we do, ask questions. This is the foundation of any inquiry. Asking questions is important. I mean, that's how we learn the how, what, why, when, all of this of a mystery. We have to ask questions. It's how we obtain information. It's how we broaden our knowledge. It's how we understand what's going on. You okay?
We're looking for the volume.
Volume? Is that better?
Is that better?
Is that better? Everybody hear me? Good? Okay. All right. I'll talk louder. All right, so on the other side of that with questions, there's a lot of people that are afraid to ask questions because when you're in a crowd like this and we're doing Q&A, sometimes people feel a little weird. They don't want to raise their hand because all their eyes are now on them. And some people come up to me and say, I didn't want to ask this during the Q&A because I felt stupid. Don't ever feel stupid. If you have a question, you're looking for knowledge. You're looking for an answer, so ask it. And like it says up here, if you don't ask your question, there is a 100% chance you will not get an answer. So I push that all the time. And I mean, I'm that guy. I'm that guy in the audience that if somebody's up on stage, especially if it's a ghost hunter or a psychic, woo-hoo-hoo, and they're saying, oh, I can do this, I can do that. Any questions? I'm like, yep, I got questions. And I'll ask the hard questions because I want an answer. And going off of that, you want to clarify questions. You want to get an answer that clarifies or helps you understand it completely. Because sometimes we just don't know. We hear someone talking and we're not sure what they said. There's two types of clarifying questions. First one is open questions, open clarifying questions. And that's pretty much like if somebody tells you, I saw a ghost and they were wearing period dress. What does that mean? What does period dress mean? I don't know. So I'll ask him, I'll raise my hand and say, hey, you said period dress. Can you clarify? Can you elaborate on that? Can you tell me more details? The other kind of clarifying question is validation questions. So that's pretty much when somebody says something and you're not sure if you heard it correctly. You know, like if they said something like, for instance, I was on a panel discussion way back, a couple years ago, and it was all ghost hunters. I was the token skeptic. And I'm sitting there and this ghost hunter is talking about how there was a haunted house that the US military was investigating. And I was like, oh, that's a new one. I've never heard that before. And he's talking on and on about the US military and all these people coming in, bringing equipment in. And when he was done, I finally said, before we move on, I need to ask, did you actually say the US military was investigating a haunted house? And he said, yes. I said, oh, let me clarify even more. Was it actually the US military, or was it a bunch of retired military personnel that got together, formed a ghost hunting group, and decided to go to a haunted house? You could see his face turn red and go, yeah, that was it. And it was perfect because the audience was mostly Boy Scouts. I was talking to Boy Scouts, and they came up afterwards and thanked me for asking that question because they heard it and they were like, we never heard this. Is this true? And they appreciated that I clarified that for them because the guy was full of crap. Everyone knows Columbo, right? You better. Absolutely. I love this guy because he is the king of asking clarifying questions. It's always, hey, well, one more thing. And I keep doing that. Every time I start asking questions or interviewing people, let me clarify. One more question, until they get annoyed and throw me out. Another strategy that I use is speaking with the locals. Speaking with the locals, that's local residents, local employees, they have information that not everyone has. So they know like local eateries, local mom and pop stores, they know recreational centers, they know the local slang. I'm from Philadelphia originally, so we say water ice instead of water ice. Like saying water hurts my mouth because I'm so used to saying water. And I can't tell you how many people came to visit us from out of town, out of state, and they're like, what's water ice? I'm like, it's that shaved ice with flavor. And they're like, oh, water? No. All right. So take the time to talk with locals. And for an example, this is a postcard that I picked up at Fort Niagara. It's in Buffalo, New York. When I moved up there in October, that's one of the first places I wanted to go because I know it was big. It was on Lake Ontario, and it really huge area and just beautiful grounds. So I went up there, and the first thing I look for, because of what I do, is when I get to the gift shop, I look for the ghost stories. There's always a book, like Fort so-and-so ghost stories. Nothing. Couldn't find anything. Talked to the cashier, and she picked out this postcard and said, here, this is what we have. And she was all excited, telling me about that. According to the postcard, it says, every month on the full moon, the headless Frenchman leaves the well to search for his missing head. Really ominous. So I started looking it up, thinking, this is great, this is a cool story. It's on so many websites. Ghost hunters love this story. It's told over and over again about basically when the French occupied the fort, they were having a party and they might have had too much to drink. So two guys, what happens when guys drink? They start getting, big chest. Two guys started fighting, and that turned into a sword fight. And that turned into one killing the other. And it's a crazy story, but basically he got scared that everyone from the party was going to find him, figure out what he did. So he decided to dismember the body and throw it into Lake Ontario. He started with the head, ran out, threw the head in the lake, ran back, realized that the party was breaking up, people were coming down. So he picked up the body, tossed it in the well, and the well is actually what you see there. And that's the story. Every full moon, this ghost comes out looking for his head, can't find it. An episode of Ghost Hunters, the TV show, was there. They went and explored the area. They saw shadow figures. They saw all this stuff. And I'm thinking, this is great, man. This is really great. I can't wait to do this because now we have a Western New York chapter, and I thought this would be a great field trip. We're not going to find a ghost, but we can hang out on the night of the full moon in this fort, maybe drink, and see what happens. We'll set up cameras and everything. So I emailed the marketing director of the fort, and told him what I was doing, what I wanted to do, and how can I arrange this. And talking to him was the best thing I did, because he responded saying this was a story that was fabricated in the 1920s to encourage visitation. Completely made up. No records whatsoever. I mean, he was totally honest. I'm pretty sure it had something to do with my signature on the email saying Kenny Biddle, Chief Investigator for Skeptical Inquirer magazine. But totally honest, and I would not have known that unless I talked to the local employee. So, helps out a lot. Another strategy that I use is who they are. There are two types of this strategy. One is the conversation that you see up top. It's an unknown expert that is used to give false proof of something. So in my line of work, I have a background in photography. I do a lot of video editing, and often I'm sent photos of ghosts and monsters and UFOs, aliens and miracles, all kinds of stuff. And when I ask them, like, well, has anyone looked at this before? They usually say, well, yeah, I had like 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 photographers look at this, and they all agree that this is absolutely 100% a ghost. Nothing was faked. And then I ask for the names. Like, who are the photographers? Tell me who they are. I'll contact them. I want to see what they say. I want to say, hey, you know, what did you look at? Why did you come to this conclusion? Because this guy says you said it was a ghost. And usually the conversation falls apart. They stop talking. They don't want to talk anymore. I mean, they don't have a ghost. It's not a ghost. But that's usually what I come across. They means some fictitious expert that they consulted, which they didn't. The other type of they are the people that have an agenda. They're the ones that are looking for fame, money. You know, they want that paycheck. They want attention. They want to look like an authority figure. I want to clarify this too. There are people, and the majority of the people that I deal with are genuine. They really have had an experience, and they just don't know what it is. But there's a pretty good percentage, psychics, that are like this. They want something out of it. They want something from you. Case in point, we're going to talk about a psychic. This is Dr. Mary Barrett. Claims to be a psychic medium, a Reiki master, all kinds of stuff. I became aware of her when I came across her Facebook feed, and she was promoting helping with a missing person case. With that, she used her psychic powers for a missing teenage girl in Oklahoma. And when you go to her site, she had all these certificates. It was like, you know, you click on the About Me section, and there were tons of certificates. One was a doctor of divinity. One was another certificate in Reiki master kind of stuff. But she's been using the term doctor since 2015 and promoting herself as an expert. You look at some of these prices. 15-minute reading, $65. The thing that really pisses me off is that for $300, she sends you an email answering some of your questions, and you're only allowed to have one verification. That's it. One clarification. So if you email her back and say, well, this, she answers one question. Like, that's 5 minutes of my time, and you charge $300. I wish we could do that as skeptics. I wish if we were immoral and just a-holes, we could make a lot of money. So, I wanted to look into her. You know, all these certificates. She claims to be a doctor. She claimed to help a teenage girl. And the teenage girl, she's in Oklahoma. She ran away, and this psychic said that she went out there, she looked around, she consulted with the police department, and by the time that she left, the teenage girl was found, and she had the entire police department believing that she had psychic powers. The entire one. So, the doctor thing. If you want to be a doctor, like me and Eric, all you have to do is go onto the Universal Life Church website, and you can get ordained. That takes 5 seconds. You put your name and email address, boom, you're done. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to get a doctor of divinity like us, you go down to the merchandise shop. You click on certificate, you click on doctor of divinity, and you put your credit card information in. $20 later, you're a doctor. This is the diploma mill based out of California, and sadly, it's recognized out there. so you can call yourself doctor. So from 2015 to 2022, she was using a fake degree to call herself doctor to appear like an expert. Horrible. I also contacted the detective that worked on the missing person case. He called me on the phone. We talked. And I said, hey, you know, I got this local newspaper. It mentions you in this. And that the psychic said that all of you, everyone, your department believed everything she was saying and that she was psychic by the time she left. And he went, no, that's not how it went. One of the things she said, and tell me if you've heard this before. She claimed that the teenage girl was by water. And she was by water. She was by water. And the detective said, we are a lake town. Everything is by the water. Everything. There's nothing that's not by the water. So eventually the girl was found, but it was a tip called in from a neighbor. The police already had everything. The detective told me, we already knew everything. She did not tell us anything we didn't already know. We already had a place staked out, and that's where she was found. So a caller tip helped confirm where she was. They found the girl. Everything was fine. This psychic helped nothing at all. Incidentally, I wrote an article about this and just included all the information. She sent a cease and desist to me, CFI, everything. I mean, it was from her, not from a lawyer. But she tried to make it look official. She threatened to sue me, sue CFI, sue everybody. When I did this presentation, I put this together last week before we flew into Seattle. I checked her website. Guess what's gone? Everything about the certifications, everything about the missing person is removed from her website. But if you want to see it, it's on the Wayback Machine. So it's still saved. You can see the whole site. It's great. Speaking of a Wayback Machine, the next strategy I want to talk about is Google it. This is not just, I don't mean just use Google, although I do. I use Google Images, Google Maps. I use Google Earth Pro, which is free. You can download it to your computer and it helps me find locations. But I use a lot of internet tools in order to research things. And I love all these tools. Please take a picture because you can look these up. These are excellent tools that you can find. I use a lot of social media, so Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all these, to find information about people. Because if you're on social media, you are not private. You have no privacy whatsoever. There's information out there that I can find within minutes. And I mean, if we're talking about that stuff, we can talk about psychics and hot reading. Because if you are a client and you call me up and say, I want a reading, okay, great, we'll schedule you for this date. Give me your credit card information. Boom, got your name, your address, I got financials, I can look it up. Within minutes, I have your entire history. I'll charge $259 because I'm cheap. But you can find so much information about people. I mean, for me and people like Susan Gerbic, I mean, we will go through someone's social media feed back years to find when they posted, I lost my dog, I lost my cat, I lost my grandmother, my mother, my child. We will look for that stuff because that's what psychics will do. They will go through your they'll comb through.
What's that? The one on the end, third one down.
That one. It's Deepware. Deepware is a tool for looking at deepfake videos, which are becoming more and more prominent out there. It's getting really bad because videos aren't easy to fake anymore. And this tool helps you, it'll go through the video, you post a link to it, it'll look through the video and it'll tell you the percentage of which is likely fake. Same with, what else I got? Deepware, I got TinEye, that does the same thing for photographs. It looks through the photographs and see if they've been manipulated. I use other things, been verified, Truth Finder. These are background checkers. I use Truth Finder all the time. And it gives you contact information, financials, assets, employment history. It gives you criminal history. It gives you a lot of information on somebody. So you can get a better idea who they are. Copyscape is something I use all the time to check for plagiarism. One of the cases I did, a famous ghost hunter on TV named Zach Baggins. put out a book called Ghost Hunting for Dummies. That should tell you what his audience is. But I went through it and found out that the entire book was someone else's book that was recycled. And he put his name on it, and he also stole over 60 articles from different people and just put them in his book. And just didn't give anyone credit, didn't pay for anything. So there's a lot of tools here. The Wayback Machine is awesome if you want to look up when websites are changed or edited. If people archive them, you can find the past versions of them. Really good stuff. I love this stuff. And of course, Skeptical Inquirer magazine has 48 years, I think? 48 years worth of articles about all of these fringe topics and alternative medicine, everything. So you can find a lot of information there. Definitely look it up. We have a great search engine, and I highly recommend it. Another strategy that I use is visiting a location. I encourage you to visit the location anytime you can. If someone comes to you and they have this weird stuff going on in their house, or they saw something and they're reaching out to a skeptical group, if you can visit, I encourage it. I like getting boots on the ground. I like getting my hands dirty because it provides additional information. You can look at pictures, you can look at videos of an area, like of a room of a house, but you might not get all the detail that you need. You might not get all the subtleties, like if a window closes by itself. Maybe that's because, vibrations from the street will shake it loose and it suddenly falls down. You don't know that unless you're there. And asking the homeowner to do it is sometimes counterproductive because sometimes they want the house to be haunted. And you need to be there in order to show this is what it is. It can also bring peace of mind to a homeowner or a business owner. Because if they really truly think something weird is going on and they don't understand it, coming out and having a face-to-face, seeing a friendly face, because we're friendly skeptics, right? We're friendly, yeah? I see some, maybe, okay. Coming out there and talking to them one-on-one is more personal, and it puts them at ease. Because if you can explain stuff to them and show them how it's done, it sinks in, it makes more of an impact. For example, I went to a house in Ontario, Canada. I went out there because the woman was having all kinds of little experiences. And the big one was this picture here. So it's a little blurry, but apparently her pet camera went off. She had a pet camera to watch her dog, her cat, and it was motion activated. It was also sound activated, which is a big deal. I mean, that's something that's really bad because any kind of noise coming from the window will set it off. But apparently about 3 a.m., it went off. It snapped a picture. And for her, she was looking right here and seeing a little kid with the head, the body, the hand, and then down here were legs walking into her bedroom. And it scared her. She showed her mother, and her mother immediately saw it and said, "Yes, that's a little kid. Your house is haunted." So it got worse. The more she showed people, the more they said, "Yes, I see it," when she pointed it out, and it reinforced her belief. So it scared her. And now everything that happened afterwards, a noise, a shadow, whatever, she associated with some kind of ghost, specifically a little boy. What's worse is that a family friend or a family member recommended a psychic. So this guy came in, he made an hour-long video on YouTube about his investigation of the house and went through, and at one point he sits down and he's doing his psychic bullshit and just going, I feel like there was a child, a little boy that they drowned and they are haunting your house. So he goes through, he has a little ghost hunting gadget that lights up for certain things, and we can talk about that at the Q&A if you want to. But he's going through asking, "Hey, little boy, did you die in like the 1900s?" And it lights up. He's like, "Oh, was it 1900, 1901, 1902? And pretty much how he's saying it, 1903, 1904, 1905, 1906. And he waits and waits, and then it finally lights up. He's like, "You died in 1906. Okay." The thing is, he researched this house beforehand. The homeowner had told him before he arrived that she had caught this picture and she thought a little boy was in her house. So the psychic already knew. He did a simple search saying, hey, he put in the name of the town, put in little boy drowned, and popped up a record. I did the same thing. Same record popped up, 1906, a little boy did drown. But he drowned 2.5 miles away from this house. Nothing to do with the family, nothing to do with past owners, current owners, or the house, nothing to do with it. It was just something that the psychic found in a record and exploited it. It said, you know what, I'm going to associate this death with your house. The big thing with this, I was able to go there, talk to the owner, sit down, take another picture with my phone, and realize that what she saw as a little boy ghost was actually the dresser here and the edge of the bed. So this is all the edge of the bed here. This is the bed frame, the mattress, the comforter on top. This and this is reflection of the infrared light from the camera off of the handles here. This is all just an optical illusion, and I was able to recreate it for her. I also talked to her more and found out that these pictures are all from the same night, and they go over a span, I think, of 3 hours. 3 hours. And the ghost boy never moved. And honestly, it looks like Mario, right? Mario and Luigi, right? That's what it looks like to me. But it never moved. And I pointed this out. I said, it didn't move. Like, it didn't go into your bedroom. I don't know what, it didn't move. But I was very polite, very professional. We went through step by step everything that she thought was associated with a haunting or a ghost. And after each one, after I explained and recreated everything, I said, are you satisfied that we explained this part? And she said, yes. So, after not sleeping in her own bedroom for 2 years, she slept on the couch because she was so scared. And all these people, the psychic, everything telling her stuff. She called me the next day and said, I slept in my bed. I could sleep. I didn't wake up. It was the best night. I slept late. She was late for work because she slept in. And then I followed up. A week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, she's still doing good. So that for me, big win. Big win. Thank you. These damn psychics, man. Next strategy, eyewitness testimony. There's a lot of things that can affect how we see the world, our memory of an experience. I mean, so many of these things up here. Stress, expectations. So many ghost hunters go into an alleged haunted house already knowing that they're going to get a lot of evidence. They have expectations going in. Your wakefulness. So many of these events that I tag along with, when I go along with ghost hunting teams, they start at like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. And most of these people during the week are in bed by 10. So I see them all the time. They're sitting there because that's all they do. They basically sit there and wait for something to happen, and they're like, and I tap them on the shoulder, but they hear things because they're hallucinating, basically. They're falling asleep, and they think they hear something or think they feel something, and they're saying, oh yeah, it was a ghost. A ghost touched me. I'm like, no, you fell asleep, dude. So there's a lot of stuff. Relationship to participant. I put that in there because there's so many times where if I get eyewitness testimony and I'm talking to somebody, maybe their spouse or their children or brother or sister will try to defend them and say, oh, they saw this, they saw that. And I don't like that. I don't like that because now you have a relationship, they're trying to protect their sibling, their family member, their friend. I try to separate the witnesses, and that's what the next point is, separate the witnesses as soon as possible. I don't want to interview people together. I want to take all of you guys separate rooms and talk to you individually because we have a habit of filling in the gaps for other people. And when you tell a story over and over again, that those memories that you didn't witness yourself will become part of your memory. You will start reciting those details like you were there. And there's been plenty of times I've seen it where somebody's like, oh yeah, we were there. It was so cool. There was a shadow figure and it moved down the end of the hallway. And then of all people, their fellow ghost hunter will go, dude, you weren't there. You didn't go that night. And because the story has been told so many times, the guy just incorporated the memory into his head. There's also times when an extraordinary claim, such as aliens landed in my backyard, is a complete fabrication, and it falls apart when you start looking at the details, and they don't match up. For example, this was a case I worked on. It happened in April of this year, the last day of April, and it's in Las Vegas, Nevada. A bright light flew across the sky about 10 minutes to midnight, and it was a meteor. It really was. It was reported to the American Meteor Society. It flew over 4 states. They have reports. They had 22, I think, the last time I checked, 22 or 23 reports from 4 states. So that actually happened. A half hour later, these 2 kids, this one in particular, his name is Angel, he called 911 and said that there were 8 to 9 or 10 feet tall creatures in his backyard, that they landed in his backyard. And I mean, this is taken right from the police report. That's his quote, all right, that they have shiny eyes, they're not human, they're 100% not human. So it caused a big stir. At first, the police showed up, they interviewed them. Somehow it leaked to the press, and the local news did a story on them, and then more podcasters and people wanted to interview them. And that's where I came in. A lot of people, they put out an initial report saying it's probably fake, it's this. There's a lot to it. I waited a couple weeks and listened through all of the interviews. Hours and hours of the guy saying the same crap over and over again, except he didn't say exactly the same way. One version that he made a YouTube video himself, and he told a version of when he first saw the creatures. He called his dad. His dad came out, saw the creatures too. They all ran inside. The second version, he was on a podcast doing an interview, and he said he called his mom, and his mom came out, and she saw it too, and they all freaked out and ran in the house. The third version comes from the police body cam. And this is the police body cam. This is a screenshot from the body cam. That's the father. The father's going, they say something landed in the backyard. The cop asked the father, did you see anything? He goes, no. The mother, she's standing right behind him. That's her elbow. The cop goes to her, did you see anything? No. And she adds, I got my iPhone because I wanted to take video. And the cop said, did you get any? She's like, no, there was nothing. So everything fell apart. We have 3 different stories, and then none of the witnesses agree. And the 2 people that the kid said saw it, they're like, no, nothing there. So eyewitness testimony is really good. It's a good start in an investigation, but don't always take it as proof. Look into it, because it might be somebody trying to scam you. Another strategy is separate testable claims. And what I mean by that is a testable claim, as you can see here, it's the result of testing, of data collection, of experience, and you can prove it either true or false. A testable claim, here's the example that I give, that if somebody says, I can hear footsteps coming down the main staircase at 1 a.m., and when I check everyone's bedroom, everyone's fast asleep, no one's up. That's a testable claim, because we can be there. We can set up people at the bottom of the stairs, at the top of the stairs. We can set cameras up. We can go, all scientific with white lab coats and sensors and everything all over the place, and we can figure out what's going on. A non-testable claim is when you have a psychic, like Chip Coffey, one of Susan's favorite people, that says, I feel the presence of an evil ghost, and she doesn't like skeptics, so you need to get out of here. And she wants you to leave right now or else. Like, that's not a testable claim, because that's just some guy saying, oh, a ghost is in here. Like, we could leave the room, nothing will happen. We could stay, and nothing will happen. Nothing happens. But the psychic in this case can go, well, since you didn't leave, the ghost was even madder, and she decided to leave instead. She didn't want to talk to you. So it's not a testable claim. Make sure that you're going to have something to test if you're going to go out to someone's house or a location of business or something like that. Document everything. I can't stress this enough. This is one of the most important things you can do. Document everything. If you see photographs associated with the case, if you have PDFs that are like academic papers or police reports, or anything like that, screenshots, take them, because you want all of that information. You want all of that as your evidence to show later, because people will change websites. They will try to manipulate pictures. I print it out. I still keep physical file cabinets because I'm just old school like that. I have hard drives piled up in my office, but I also have file cabinets where I keep everything printed out. Take photos with your phone. If you have your phone, take it out, take pictures of areas. If somebody says, you know, I was abducted, or aliens did experiments on me right here, take pictures of it. You want to see it, especially if they have the tools. I mean, that would be weird. But if they have an experience somewhere, take pictures of it. If they have marks, take pictures of it. Whatever. I love taking my phone out and just taking pictures of everything. Make photocopies. This, not many people do anymore, but I go to local libraries, I go to historical societies, and I like to support them because honestly, when I have to go to them for research, I can walk in for free and get the information I need. So if they have a photocopier, I throw them a few bucks just to help support them because, I mean, that's the right thing to do. And I take a lot of notes. I have stacks and stacks of notebooks. I write until there's no space on the page, and at the bottom I sign it and date it, just saying, this is all my notes, this is what I'm done, I'm moving to the next page, and that helps me later on when I have to review. Primary sources. Primary sources are all of these. Basically, primary source is an original first-hand account of an object, quote, experience, or event that someone has a direct connection to. That's important because too many people say, I have a friend that said this. I don't want to talk to you then, I want to talk to your friend because I want to talk to the primary source. That's where I'm going. Because secondary sources are good, but they're usually one step removed, and they usually have that extra step of interpretation. So I don't want people's interpretation, I want my own interpretation. So that's why I go to primary sources. Verify historical claims. Make sure something actually happened, especially if a psychic or a ghost hunting tour or something like that tells you, you know, there was a murder that happened in 1902, and it happened in this building. You want to make sure it actually happened. So check your historical records, see if something happened there. Newspaper accounts, records, talk to local people that might have worked there. Make sure that not only the event happened, but the people that were named were actually involved or there. Sometimes, I've been in cases where they said, oh, there was a murder that happened, and it happened in like 1870. And you look up the person that was murdered, and they weren't born until 1910. So it's like something's wrong with this picture. So make sure something actually happened. And to give you a good example of both of these, verifying historical claims and primary sources, this was a TV show that, thankfully, it was short-lived. It only lasted one season. It was called Ghost Loop, and they were investigating a house where there was, it was supposed to be a site of an execution-style murder that happened in 1921. They went down to Houston, Texas. They set up. They decided that the best way to get activity from the murdered person that was now a ghost was to take all the modern furniture out of the house and replace it with 1920s furniture. I'm glad you guys are laughing because I found that silly too. They did it anyway. They set everything up. But they also went a step further and they got what they called a dummy gun, which actually looked like a real gun. They had a ghost hunter kneel down in the living room and they put that to the back of her head. And, thank you. That feels good. They put it to the back of her head and went bang, 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 like pulling the trigger. And at first I was like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, you're going too far. So I decided to look into it. Somebody asked me to do a review on the series, and I chose the first episode. This was the very first episode. And when I started digging into the original primary sources and looking at historical documents, I found a problem. They were at the wrong house. Wrong house. The correct house was at 2012 Lamar Street. They were at a street on Boner Street, which is, I love that. So the event actually happened. It took place at a house 4.5 miles away, or 4 miles away. These are the records. This is the police report, death certificate of the gentleman, showing that he died and where his address was. And it was his sister's house. That's 2012 Lamar. So this is where he was living. That's the gentleman. That's Preston Ave. That's where his sister lived. So that's where he was living. And this was where this is the girl that, so I don't want to say it's an execution style murder and leave it at that. Basically, the guy was a drunk and abusive, and he came to the house of his girlfriend and tried to rape her. And he passed out. He pulled out a gun, he tripped, fell down, passed out. She decided that's enough. So she was put on trial, she was acquitted, and life went on. So I just wanted to make sure I clarified that part. But yeah, they were at the wrong house, completely wrong house, which is hysterical. I just love that they were, and that show was canceled, so we don't have to worry about that crap anymore. One more thing, experiment. I love to experiment. I love simple experiments. I'm not talking about actually donning a white lab coat, although I do have one and I do wear it sometimes, but it gets hot, so I don't wear it a lot. And I'm not talking expensive equipment, fancy equipment. I'm talking simple experiments. And that's what I did with this. This was a ghost hunting gadget that somebody sent me. And apparently it was food for ghosts. That's right. To clarify, food for ghosts. That's what he said. It was actually 2 little earth magnets that were they were glued, hot glued, mind you, hot glued to toy car motors. So they spun the magnets, and it created a magnetic field that you could read with a meter, this meter. And the big claim, well, besides food for ghosts, I mean, that's a pretty bold claim, that the crystals that he included, that were also hot glued to the lid of this thing, they would amplify the field. So I was like, oh, that's a testable claim. I can do that. And so I did. I took it apart. I put my meter next to it. This is the device. That's the meter. Put the crystals in there. That's the reading I got. 39.6 milligauss. I took the crystals away. That's the reading I got. No. Didn't amplify. It went down. But to be fair, it was jumping between like 36 and 42. So it was same area, did not amplify anything. It was the same reading, so it failed. It was a simple experiment. I did a video of it. I put it online and pissed him off so much. So much. Because he's charging $80 for this thing. $80 for a couple magnets. There was nothing, I think when I put all the parts together, it was less than $5 to make this thing. $5, and he was charging $80. So that was busted. Sometimes you gotta take a step back. That could mean just walking away. Like sometimes when I'm working on something, I'm so focused. I get up, I walk away. I walk away for a few minutes, a few hours. Sometimes I come back days later, and it gives me a fresh perspective. Now I'm looking at it going, oh, you know what? I didn't see this before. That's great. Sometimes I literally walk away from the screen and look at it. Like if usually I'm working like this. I have the screen about 1.5 feet, 2 feet from my face because I'm all lip in there. Sometimes I step back like this and take a look at it. And when you take a step back, you go from wondering, is this a UFO? Just like the one that happened in 1950 around here. Is this a UFO over the CFI building in Buffalo, New York? Or is it just our friend Eric throwing a hubcap? That's it. That's Eric back there. He is our resident disc golf champion. He runs tournaments, he does all this kind of thing. So I gave him a hubcap from a 1950s truck and said, can you launch this multiple times? And he was a great guy. I mean, over and over again. And it was hot out too. And I'm just going, throw it again, not high enough. Throw it again, not long enough. Throw it again. It tilted this way. Did a great job. And we actually have this, the hubcap, and the camera that was originally used in the 1950s pictures that were around here. McMillville? Yeah. Yeah. So we have that at the CFI headquarters on display so you can see how we did it. But that was a fun day. Think outside the box. This is kind of a simple strategy because I get so focused. I do this every day. And sometimes it's nice to walk away and consult experts or consult other people in the building. I'll go to Eric's office and say, hey, you know, what do you think of this? I'll go down the hall and our free inquiry editor, Nicole Scott, I'll go down and talk to her for a little bit and just say, hey, I'm working on this, what do you think? And sometimes the most effective way to get over that hump, that writer's hump or investigator's hump, as it would, where I'm stuck, I'll go home for the day and I'll sit down for dinner and I talk to my wife and she asks me how my day is. And I'm like, hey, you know, I'm working on this, I'm doing this, I found this. And sometimes she'll give me suggestions that I already tried. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I tried that, didn't work. And then once in a while she'll be like, well, did you try this? And I'll go, well, damn, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. And then I get up without thinking of it, because my office is literally like 30 seconds from my back door. So I walk out and start going to work. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I gotta go back to work. You give me a good idea. And that leads to solving the case. And it's just as simple as talking to somebody with a different perspective. So don't be afraid to share something that you're working on. Talk to other people, because they might have some insight that you don't have, some little bit of knowledge, something they read, and they might bring it up and say, hey, try this, and you solve the case. The last one that I'm going to talk about is be nice. Be nice. We have a reputation as skeptics sometimes to be a-holes, to be honest. We're direct, we're honest, we're upfront, and all qualities I respect. From the outside, sometimes that comes off as elite or snooty. Sometimes the best thing I can do is just be nice. I like to foster relationships. I like to build relationships with people. I attend a lot of paranormal conferences. I go to ghost conferences, UFO conferences, Bigfoot conferences. I was just invited this morning to a Bigfoot conference in Pennsylvania because they want me to speak and talk. Like, it's a Bigfoot conference and they're inviting a skeptic. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to take me in the woods and leave me. But it's still cool. But be polite. By being impolite, people with opposing beliefs will engage in conversation with you more. They'll talk more. They're more open, and you can have a discussion. You find common ground. Find something you agree on and build from there. I mean, everyone is skeptical about something. Everyone believes something. Sometimes it's based on evidence. Sometimes it's based on faith. Talk to them. Find out where you guys connect and build from there. Lastly, don't be dismissive. Don't be cynical. Don't just hear somebody and wave your hand and say, that's stupid. I don't like using the word stupid. I really don't like using it. I want to listen to people. I want to hear their story. If I can help, I help. I offer explanations. If they don't want to hear it, so be it. Sometimes you got to pick your battles too. So be nice is Patrick Swayze. If you ever see Roadhouse, be nice until it's time not to be nice. Sometimes it's time not to be nice, but try to. Because sometimes you just have to pick your battles and walk away. And that's cool. Maybe you'll come back the next day and they'll be more open to it. And with that, I want to say that I work for the Center for Inquiry, specifically the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. We are a nonprofit organization. We don't receive any government funding or corporate funding. It's all because of people like you that subscribe to Skeptical Inquirer, that help support us, that allow me to fly across the country, me and Eric to fly across the country and talk to you, to meet you, to engage in conversation. And it helps me to teach these skills, to teach critical thinking, to give people the skills to go through everyday life and do a better job at making decisions. So if you can, check it out, centerforinquiry.org. Just check it out. Check out the website. There's a lot of information on there. And for the end here, this is some of the projects that I work on. I help out with CFI Western New York. That's our branch out there where we have speakers every month. We also stream them thanks to Eric. Eric sets up the whole streaming facility and puts out all the speakers every month. I write for skepticalinquirer.com and also the magazine. Actually, skepticalinquirer.org, sorry. But I also do the print magazine. I do a video series on YouTube for the Center for Inquiry called The Ghost and the Machine, where I take apart stuff like gadgets, and I go on ghost hunts, and you get to go along with me and see people using dowsing rods and try to do table tipping. That's an actual good one. That's the Hinsdale house. I catch someone faking the table tipping. Oh, they were so mad because I got them all. I got their face on camera and I show the world. And then every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I do a live stream show called The Skeptical Help Bar. And it's 2 hours of me drinking and answering questions from a skeptical point of view. And I also have guests sometimes. Susan's been on a bunch of times, Brian Dunning. We've had Ben Rafford, who's my editor, lots of names that come on, and we talk, we have a friendly conversation, and we all get to learn. So with that, I am done. I hope you enjoyed it, and there you go. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone coming out, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now, I'm here for questions, so if you have questions, ask away.
So you were a ghost hunter.
Yes, that was easy.
Did you believe?
I did.
At the time, you believed.
I did. I grew up Catholic. Sorry. That explains a lot, right? That's all I gotta say. That was the easiest question I've ever answered. So yeah, I grew up Catholic, so I already had that idea that there was an afterlife and, that things existed. But I got into it because I had an interest. I grew up with In Search Of, Unsolved Mysteries, Sightings, all these TV shows. So I was really into it. And when I got on this new thing at the time called the internet, with the World Wide Web, I found a ghost hunting team in my area and I joined them, and I didn't know anything. So I followed their lead. And eventually I had an experience in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania that changed my mind about everything. And I wrote a whole article about that. And
You saw that it was fake.
I became a ghost. That was my experience. Somebody mistook me for a ghost, and even though I had good information to support that I was not a ghost, they didn't believe me, and they got upset because I was stealing their spotlight. That's exactly what they said. And that changed my mind, and it really turned me on to the skeptical literature, and I wanted to find out, mostly because I was telling people their houses were haunted, and I realized that maybe I was wrong. And maybe I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't. And maybe I was telling people false statements, and I was. So I was determined to fix that. And now I'm standing here with the greatest job in the world, trying to fix it every day. So there you go. Did that answer your question?
But what are your credentials?
What are my credentials? So I have a background in automotive. I have a degree in automotive gas and diesel repair. I have certifications in aerospace. I would build helicopters from the ground up. And then all of my certifications were all diagnosing. So I would be presented with a problem and had to figure out what that problem is, how to get around it, how to fix it, how to improve it. So my entire career was problem solving, and I started freelancing for Skeptical Inquirer about 15 to 20 years ago and built up case by case after that until I was doing lectures for them, videos, and more for them, and they decided to offer me this job. Speak up.
How do I inspire skepticism at school?
How do you inspire? That's a good one. I would start by subscribing to Skeptical Inquirer. Free plug. And take it to school. I mean, I don't know if you're allowed like a reading time or anything like that, take it to school. But if there's any talk, if there's any clubs that have anything to do with like weird stuff, ask questions. Always ask questions. And if somebody comes up to you and says, what are you reading? Say, oh, I'm reading this, and it talks about science. It really goes into the skeptical part of it, but we try to figure out the truth of things. We don't try to just make up or promote fairy tales. We try to figure out what's really going on. You can go online, there's some resources. We have Generation Skeptics, is that what it is? There's a website, part of CFI. If you go on CFI website, there's a part of it that's called Generation Skeptics, and it's lesson plans, I think, that help teach critical thinking, and you can get more ideas on there. Good? Good. Guy in the back, he's been waiting.
Yeah, I'm curious about your premise about the Big Bingo UFO.
No, it's still speculation because nobody knows exactly how it was done. But that still is an option because it does look like a side mirror. I didn't have a side mirror available. I had a hubcap. So that's what we used to do it. And it gave us the same look. But yeah, it does look like a side mirror, and that still is an option, except that some of the pictures, because they're not in the same area. So to know whether it was hanging from a power line, that would take a lot. First, you'd have to get it up on the power line, and unless they use like the old sneaker trick, throwing it up there with the shoelaces.
The old article said that the camera was only 2 feet off the ground, and it was obviously put that close to the ground to get the proper perspective and all that.
Well, some of the pictures are from the guy's truck. They're inside the truck. So he's sitting in the driver's seat. So it might have been hanging over the roof, the roof of the cab. But honestly, we don't know. It's just speculation. It doesn't look like something that's far off because it's in sharp focus, which tells me that it was closer. Especially because they were using a Polaroid 100 or a 101 camera. And I have that model, and it's crap. I mean, it doesn't take great pictures. It really is crap. And there is a documentary that shows him going through the motions and taking it off and snapping pictures through the driver or the passenger side window. But the camera doesn't focus good on faraway objects. And you can see that in the background because they fade out pretty quickly. So it had to be relatively close to him. And considering the size of the side view mirror, it definitely had to be relatively close.
Are you going to be investigating any of the UFO reports that the feds recently released?
So the go-to person is Mick West. That man is the king of UFO reports. But the recent stuff that has been released, like, are you referring to the hearings?
Yeah.
So the hearings didn't tell us anything. Honestly, and I just had a conversation about it, but I've had a couple conversations about this. Two things really stand out. One, the whistleblower keeps referring, he doesn't say aliens. At any time, he does not say aliens. He refers to living things as non-human biologics. That's the term he uses. A non-human biologic is my dog. That's a plant, that's a tree, that's a squirrel. Anything that's not human is that has some kind of biology is a non-human biologic. So using that terminology was very misleading of him because it could mean just an animal. It doesn't mean an alien. He also used the term, he was talking about recovered UAPs that were reverse engineered. UAP is unidentified aerial phenomenon. The Chinese spy balloons that we shot down were UAPs. So by saying that by using that term, he was not referring to spaceships or alien technology. He was referring to spy balloons and other things like that we're not aware of. We didn't know what it was. It's unidentified. It either lands, we recover it, we shoot it down, we recover it. It's still unidentified. We reverse engineer it to figure out what it does do and what information it collected so that, foreign intelligence and all this stuff. So the hearing revealed nothing because when he kept saying that, oh, he knows stuff, there's bodies, we have bodies and stuff like that. When he was asked directly, he kept saying, well, I know people. I know someone that told me this. No names were giving, no places were giving, no details at all. Basically, that whistleblower was 20 said, do this. I would love to have that manual, and I want to be the one that puts that out. So, yes, I am working on that. Sir.
Do you have any pending mysteries that you have not solved and that are still open? And if so, what are they? And, give us some meat.
Yes, and I can't tell you.
That's a mystery.
Now, there's been plenty, because this is a good question because there's a lot of mysteries I'm working on currently that, they take time. I can't solve, sometimes I solve things in a few minutes, but sometimes it takes me a few months or years. There's for example, Rose Mackenberg. She is the assistant for Harry Houdini that went around to all of the psychics and got readings before Houdini's show. She would have the reading, figure out what they did, report back to Houdini. He would do his show and expose the psychics. So I'm a big fan of hers. I think she was incredible at what she was doing. When she died, nobody knows where she's buried. Nobody. It's a big mystery. There is nothing. I have a death certificate that lists 2 cemeteries for her burial plot. And I've been in contact, going back and forth with New York City, trying to get more information. I contacted the funeral home that buried her, and their records were destroyed in a flood. So I'm trying to find her so that I can pay my respect, because this is somebody that I look up to, you know, and it's been 8 years that I've been working on this, and I'm not giving up, huh?
I think we've got time for 2 more questions.
You had a slide there about tools.
Yes.
And I'm not sure, I missed maybe what you said. Are you saying that those were reliable sources, or because it seems to me that with how things are going, there's nothing really reliable in anything that you read even on the internet?
Okay, so he was asking if the tools that I put up on screen were reliable tools. So yeah, some of them are definitely reliable. I go to them all the time. Some are only as reliable as you can sift through. So for social media, things like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, these are all social media accounts where people put up a lot of crap, a lot of stuff that they embellish, a lot of stuff that really never happened. So you have to sift through the information. For me, when I'm looking through such things, when I'm looking through like Facebook and going back years, I'm looking for specific information. If they posted about a grandfather that passed away, if their pet passed away, if they mentioned something. There was a psychic that I investigated like a year or 2 ago, and he made all these big claims that he fought off demons, he did exorcisms, he did a whole bunch of stuff, and that when he did the exorcism, the possessed person, the demon, told him that he was adopted. And he went on a whole bunch of TV shows and all this stuff, doing interviews saying, no one knew that I was adopted. I've never said it anywhere. So he gave a date of the exorcism that he allegedly performed, which he didn't, spoiler. And I went back through his Facebook page and found that 6 months prior to that, he put on his Facebook saying, Happy Adoption Day. I was adopted. Thank you for my adoptive parents to do this. So he put it out there publicly for everyone to see. And he got a whole bunch of people saying, oh, thank you for doing this. You know, I was adopted. So he did put it out there. And for me, that was reliable information because I could screen capture this and send it to him and say, hey, you said this, but here's a picture saying otherwise. You were wrong. So in that instance, it was a very reliable tool for me, but it's not always the case. So I hope that answered your question.
Last question.
Just referring to the Wayback Machine and other archival systems where you can go back and check if people have changed their story or updated something. I've been obsessed for the last 12 years with the fact that they keep saying we are 12 to 18 months away from being able to buy a driverless car. And they just keep saying, oh, not today, but a year from now, we're definitely going to have that. I sort of consider that to be like the government UFO files that have been released where there's a kernel of truth where, yeah, they did release some files, but then they embellish everything onto that to make it sound like it's a thing when
Okay.
it really isn't. And it wasn't my question, I guess, more of a comment, but do you have an opinion on real news stories where they just, especially, I'm very skeptical of any technology story that says this is a game changer because it
Okay.
usually doesn't. Isn't a game changer. I wonder if you just have any opinions on. Real news stories where they just, especially, I'm very skeptical of any technology story that says this is a game changer because it usually doesn't. Okay.
Okay.
Isn't a game changer. I wonder if you just have any opinions on.
That sounds like marketing 101. I mean, you embellish, you exaggerate, and you get people excited about things. But as for researching, I mean, there's delays that happen all the time. So if somebody promises a certain technology coming out, I never expect it to actually come out when they say it does, because there are going to be delays. There's going to be hiccups in the process. So I wouldn't rely on it. If anybody says, you're going to have a driverless car by next year, I'm still going to wait. I still want to drive my own car. That freaks me out. I mean, I would love to fall asleep at the wheel and not worry about getting home, but no, I'm good. Oh yeah, they do. They do have, and there's some trucks. There's some delivery trucks that are coming out. I think they're rolling them out like really soon, or they did already for deliveries, like Amazon deliveries and stuff like that. So, thank you guys.
Thank you. Big hand.